Hey friends, Rob Franek, I'm editor-in-chief here at the Princeton Review. And folks, if you're prepping for the AP English Language and Composition exam, then today's video is for you, my friend. We're going to be sharing 9 key concepts that you need to master to ace the exam come this May. Now, with that said, before we get into this needed detail, let's take a quick step back and clarify the difference between the AP English Language exam and the AP English Literature exam. Now, the AP English Literature exam focuses on analyzing fiction and poetry and the use of literary devices, whereas the AP English Language exam, the exam that we're talking about in this very video today, assesses how you deconstruct arguments and rhetorical strategies in works of nonfiction. Now, some of the major skills tested on the AP English Language exam include the ability to identify an author's purpose and intended audience, as well as the ability to plan and to write cogent, clear essays. Now that we've established the differences between the two exams, let's dig into the 9 key concepts that you need to understand the AP English Language Composition exam. Concept number 1, my friends, is active reading. Now, the passages on the exam tend to be ripe with heavy reading, with long sentences and obscure words. Given your limited time, you'll need to be able to read quickly with understanding. That requires becoming skilled in active reading because, folks, you don't have time to waste not even 2 or 3 precious minutes rereading sentences you didn't grasp the first time. Instead, you should engage with each passage and ask yourself key questions to help you identify the main passage, the main point of the passage, the author's purpose, the rhetorical strategies used to achieve that purpose. Friends, as you're reading, just a few questions, not only to keep in mind, but to actively ask yourself. Number 1, what is the author's main point in the paragraph itself? How does it connect to the paragraph that came directly before it? Where is it likely to lead in the next paragraph? Leads me to concept number 2, understanding words in context. Now, there's a good chance that you'll stumble across a few unfamiliar words during the exam. A key skill that can help you quickly overcome that obstacle is the ability to guess the meaning of a word from its context. Take, for example, the following sentence from our prep book at the Princeton Review. Here it is. The speaker's passion and ebullience began to cut through the dour mood of the audience that confronted him. Personal note, my friend, this exact scenario happens to me many times throughout the academic year. But here's the thing, some readers might not know what ebullience means. That said, you can make an educated guess from the context. If the speaker is speaking passionately about a specific subject and the word ebullience is paired with passionate, then one could reasonably deduce that ebullience has something to do with enthusiasm and exuberance. Learning how to guess the meaning of a word from its context will be an invaluable reading technique for the exam itself, but for life as well. Friends, I say that without a smidge of hyperbole. It's a mathematical certainty in our heads here. Leads me to concept number 3, which is rhetoric and language, style, tone, and theme. Folks, by the time the exam rolls around in May, there are certain terms that you will need to know cold. You will be tested on your understanding of rhetoric and stylistic devices an author uses to appeal to an audience. That includes the 3 classical rhetorical appeals: logos, ethos, and pathos. You can also count on seeing multiple choice and essay questions related to style and to tone and to theme. You'll need to be familiar with their definitions, and you should also clearly understand what words like diction and syntax and denotation and connotation all mean. And we strongly encourage you to study up on the vocabulary of rhetorical and literary devices that commonly appear on the exam itself. Concept number 4, my friends, figurative language. Now, folks, unless you're reading a training or an instruction manual, most written works are not meant to be taken literally and often incorporate figurative language. Now, figurative language can be understood as the speech or writing that deviates from its literal or conventional meaning to achieve a special effect. Now, on this exam, it will be very helpful to review and understand common terms associated with figurative language, including the use of imagery and hyperbole and understatement and simile and metaphor and symbolism and personification and euphemism, and the list goes on and on. And while there's no need for you to strain yourself attempting to use figurative language in the free response section, you will need to analyze texts that contain figurative language on the test itself. Leads me to concept number 5, basic or complex rhetorical modes. Now, rhetorical modes refer to the ways the writer organizes their arguments. As you prepare for the exam and begin to take practice tests, you will quickly see that 40 minutes is not a lot of minutes to write a polished essay. Learning the 3 basic rhetorical modes, example or illustration, classification, and analogy, will be, again, invaluable in helping you write a stellar essay within that allotted time. Beyond the basics, it's also worthwhile to examine more complex rhetorical modes, and those include process analysis, cause and effect, definition, description, narration, induction, deduction. Knowing all you can about rhetorical modes on test day will not only help you recognize when those modes are used in sample passages, but it will also enable you to use them yourself with genuine ease in your essays. Now, concept number 6, and this is a really good one, rhetorical fallacies. Now, friends, writers use all kinds of faulty reasoning or rhetorical fallacies to push readers to a certain conclusion. Friends, be prepared to find these errors lurking in the passages or sources that you have to analyze on exam day. Remember, the test covers how language works, which includes how rhetorical fallacies are used or misused to hoodwink readers into accepting the author's conclusion. Friends, you should aim to fully understand common rhetorical fallacies such as ad populum, dogmatism, sentimental appeal, scare tactics, red herrings, faulty casualties. It's a fairly long list, my friends, but again, it's an invaluable one for us to have at the ready in our noggins on test days. With rhetorical fallacies, the conclusion may appear to be true at first, but the link to the evidence that's supporting it will crumble if you're effectively reading. Remember our concept 1. So always remember to check in with yourself and ask, why should I believe this? On the exam, you need to be able to recognize faulty reasoning so you won't be led astray in your multiple choice answers or mistakenly use them in your own essays. Concept number 7, having a conversation with your sources. Folks, in the synthesis essay, you'll be given a scenario and tasked with writing a response using at least 3 sources to support it. You'll need to cite the sources and use and incorporate them into your own position. You'll be assessed on your ability to judge the best sources to back up your position. Next, incorporate other writers' claims in your own argument. And last, draw on sources in order to help develop your argument in logical and persuasive ways. Remember, your aim is to seamlessly weave your sources together to support and develop the position that you take. And to do this, act as if your sources are having a conversation with each other. Imagine sitting in a room with all of the creators of your chosen sources, with each person contributing to the discussion. You want to respond to each of them, each person's comments, build on them, and then use them to create a well-supported argument on your own. You'll also want to identify fallacies in sources that don't agree with your argument and point those issues out to help make your position even stronger. Now, as with all free response questions on the AP English Language exam, the synthesis essay gives you the opportunity to demonstrate the totality of what you've learned in the course. That leads me, my friends, to concept number 8, and we call it the rhetorical diamond. When it comes to the rhetorical essay, AP evaluators are assessing your ability to analyze the techniques an author uses and discuss how those techniques contribute to the author's purpose. Now, you'll want to demonstrate the following 3 skills. Number 1, an understanding of the author's intended purpose, which you'll of course determine through active reading. Again, our concept 1. Number 2, the ability to identify the chief rhetorical strategies used to achieve that purpose effectively. Rhetoric and language, our concept number 3. And an analysis of how those strategies contribute to the development and effectiveness of the writer's arguments. Rhetorical modes, our concept number 5. Folks, to help you with this, while you are reading the prompt and the passage, imagine a baseball diamond with the following 4 points. The bases of the diamond: author, context, purpose, and audience. These are the 4 main points of the passage, and you should aim to understand how the passage itself interacts with each point and allow this understanding to help you predict the rhetorical strategies being used in the text. Folks, we've arrived at our last concept, number 9, the argument essay checklist. Now, in the argument essay, you have the opportunity to make an argument without being bound by pesky source documents or having to focus on rhetorical strategies. Instead, you're being asked to argue a position based on your own knowledge and experience. That said, you still want to take a structured and well-supported position by using everything that you've learned in your course. Now, to perform that well, follow these 4 super simple steps in this argument essay checklist. Number 1, take a definite position so it's clear where you stand on the topic in the prompt. Number 2, develop an argument that builds and moves forward. You don't want to repeat the same points in different ways. Number 3, support the points in your argument using evidence from your knowledge and your experience. And finally, point number 4, provide commentary explaining how your evidence supports the argument that you're making. Friends, familiarizing yourself with this checklist before the exam will help you organize your essay and achieve a higher score on test day. Folks, we have covered a lot of bases today, but that's it for us today. Folks, I'm hoping that you enjoyed this video. Please do give it a thumbs up if you did. Stay tuned for many more AP exam videos that are headed to your way very shortly. And as always, please do subscribe to our channel if you haven't already for the latest updates on standardized tests, college admissions, study tips, and much, much more. Rob Franek, Editor-in-Chief, signing off for today. Be well, my friends.